All right, welcome to our deep dive into getting ready for uni, especially for those of you who will be studying in English.
Yeah, it's a big step.
It is a big step.
Yeah.
And we thought we'd take a deep dive into some expert advice and resources on this topic.
Absolutely.
So to kick things off, one thing that really stuck out to me was the emphasis on academic vocabulary.
Yeah, that's super important.
Like they even mentioned this thing called the academic word list, or AWL.
Oh, yeah, the AWL.
Have you heard of that?
I have. It's basically a list of words that you'll see frequently in academic texts across various fields.
Okay, so it's not just about you're trying to sound super smart. It actually helps you understand.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about comprehension. You know, for example, you might see the word implication. In everyday conversation, that might mean like a hint or a suggestion.
Yeah.
But in academic writing, it can refer to the consequences or effects of something.
Oh, okay. That is a subtle but very important difference.
Absolutely.
I can see how not knowing that could like totally change the meaning of what you're reading.
Yeah, for sure.
And then on top of all that, you have all that university-specific lingo.
Oh, yeah, the jargon. You'll get used to it, though.
You do, but it's a steep learning curve sometimes.
It is.
I remember once I missed the deadline because I didn't understand what a submission portal was.
Oh, no.
And I was picturing some like magical doorway I had to walk through or something.
We've all been there. There's so many new terms to learn. And speaking of words that can cause confusion, we have to talk about plagiarism.
Yeah, that one's a bit scary.
It is a big deal.
I know it's really serious, but could you maybe break it down? Like, what is it exactly and why is it so important to avoid?
Sure. So plagiarism is basically presenting someone else's work or ideas as your own, whether it's intentional or not.
Oh.
And it can actually take many forms.
Right.
From like directly copying and pasting to paraphrasing without proper attribution.
So even if I like reword something, I still need to credit the original source.
Absolutely. And it's really important to understand the different ways to cite sources correctly. Because universities, they have very strict policies against plagiarism, and the consequences can be serious.
Okay, that makes sense. It's all about academic integrity and respecting the work of others.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the lingo down, but how can we make sure we're actually like absorbing all of this information from lectures and readings, especially when it's all in English?
Well, the source had some good advice on how to improve those reading and listening skills.
Okay.
For readings, especially like dense academic journals, think of yourself as a detective.
A detective.
Yeah. You don't need to read every single word. You're looking for clues, Skimming and scanning are your best friends here.
Okay, so skimming and scanning, so like looking for keywords and main ideas rather than getting bogged down in all the tiny details.
Exactly. And for listening, practicing with online lectures can be really helpful.
That's a good idea.
Like TED Talks or Crash Course.
Yeah.
Anything that exposes you to, the rhythm and vocabulary of academic speech.
Yeah, because it's different.
It is.
I like those channels anyway, so I'm already doing it.
Yeah.
But is there anything else we can do to, make the most of those lectures? Like if I'm listening to one...
Well, taking notes while you're listening can be a game changer.
Okay, yeah. I've heard that before.
It helps you stay focused, and it can also help you retain that information.
Yeah.
Plus, when it's time to review, you'll already have a handy summary of the key points.
That's true. I always think I'll remember it all, and then a week later, I can't remember a thing.
Exactly. It's good to have it written down.
Speaking of notes, I'm already feeling kind of overwhelmed thinking about all the note-taking I'll be doing.
Oh, yeah.
But I know you have some strategies to share, maybe a little later on, right?
Absolutely. We'll get into some note-taking techniques that will make your life a lot easier. But before we get too caught up in the academic side of things, there's another important aspect of university life we need to address: the social and cultural scene.
Right. Because university is about so much more than just, hitting the books.
Totally.
It's about the whole experience, making friends, understanding the culture, feeling like you belong. What did our source material have to say about that?
It really emphasized the importance of social and cultural adaptation. And one suggestion was joining English conversation groups.
Okay.
It's a great low-pressure way to boost your confidence and fluency before diving into the academic world.
I can see how that would be helpful. I remember feeling so awkward at first.
Yeah.
Trying to speak English in a university setting.
Yeah.
It's like my brain would just freeze up.
It's natural to feel a bit intimidated, especially, when you're surrounded by people who seem so fluent.
Yeah.
But remember, everyone starts somewhere.
That's true.
The key is to practice and embrace those opportunities to interact in English.
Practice makes perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
What other tips did they have for, like, navigating those social situations?
Well, they even suggested practicing common university scenarios, like asking questions in class, for example. A simple phrase like, "Could you clarify what you mean by?" can go a long way.
It's polite and respectful, and it shows that you're engaged. I wish I had thought of that. I was always so afraid to ask questions.
It can be scary, yeah, but it's worth it.
I bet there are also some cultural differences to be aware of, right?
Absolutely. Understanding the local culture and university traditions is key.
Yep.
For example, in some universities, there's something called Freshers Week.
Oh, Freshers Week.
Yeah, a week of activities and events designed to help new students, get acquainted with the campus and each other.
That sounds fun. But I bet there are some, like, less obvious cultural nuances that could maybe trip someone up.
Oh, definitely. Even something as simple as how to address your professors can vary widely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In American universities, first names are often acceptable.
Oh.
While in British institutions, they tend to be a bit more formal, using titles like doctor or professor.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you don't want to get that wrong.
No, it can be awkward.
So cultural sensitivity is key. But even with all the cultural knowledge in the world, starting conversations can still be a bit nerve-wracking.
It can be, yeah.
Any tips for, like, breaking the ice with classmates?
Simple icebreakers are your best friend. Something like, "Hi, what classes are you taking this term?" Or, "Do you know where the library is?" Can spark a conversation and help you connect with other students.
Those are great. They're simple, straightforward, and they're relevant to the university environment.
Exactly. Makes it a little easier.
Now, let's talk about getting organized.
Okay.
I remember my first year being, like, a total whirlwind of assignments, deadlines, and just trying to figure out where everything was. How did the source material, address this, like staying on top of it all?
Well, one of the most valuable tips was about creating a visual study schedule.
Okay.
Like actually mapping out your week based on your class timetable.
I'm a very visual person, so seeing everything laid out like that would really help me.
Yeah, exactly. It solidifies those commitments and it helps prevent those, last-minute scrambles. And if you're looking for an even more structured approach, consider using a technique like time blocking, like allocating specific time slots for different tasks.
Time blocking, I've heard of that. It sounds intense.
It can be, yeah, but it's effective.
But effective. Okay, so we've got our schedule sorted, but what about the actual studying, note-taking specifically?
Yes.
I remember my notes from first year being a jumbled mess.
Oh, no.
Any tips for taking effective notes, especially when listening to lectures in English?
There are definitely some strategies that can make a huge difference. The source material introduced this method called the Cornell method.
The Cornell method.
Yeah. Have you heard of it?
I have. I'm always looking for new ways to organize my notes.
Yeah, so it's all about structure. You basically divide your page into sections.
Okay.
Like main points, supporting details, and then a summary section at the bottom.
Oh.
So let's say you're in a lecture about, say, the history of the English language.
Okay.
As the professor speaks, you jot down the main points in the largest section of your notes. Then, in the supporting details section, you add any key facts or examples, explanations, and then finally, at the end of the lecture, you use that summary section at the bottom to synthesize those key takeaways in your own words.
Oh, I love that. So it forces you to engage with the material on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And then create, like, a concise summary that's easy to review later on.
Exactly.
Did the source mention any other note-taking tips?
They did. They included some really handy abbreviations that you can use to save time.
Okay.
Like EG, for example, or W for with.
Love that.
It's like having your own secret code.
Exactly. Like you're a student spy taking down notes in shorthand.
Exactly.
Speaking of time-saving tools, we can't forget about technology.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically like a student's best friend these days.
No.
So the source mentioned platforms like Moodle or Blackboard, which are common learning management systems.
Yes.
Oh, those were lifesavers for me.
They are.
Everything from assignments to grades to course announcements, it was all right there.
It makes it easy to stay organized.
Yeah, but I can imagine it might be like a bit overwhelming at first. Any advice for like navigating those systems?
Well, the key is to familiarize yourself with them early on. Don't be afraid to click around, explore different features, and ask for help if you get stuck. Trust me, once you get the hang of them, they'll make your life so much easier.
They will. And while we're talking about tech, mastering basic software like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel is crucial.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Those skills will be invaluable throughout your studies and beyond.
Absolutely. Think of them as essential tools in your academic toolkit.
I like that.
But even with all the tech in the world, time management can still be a struggle.
It can.
So that's where having a solid system comes in.
I agree. A system can make all the difference. What did our source recommend?
Well, they introduced a tool called the Eisenhower Matrix.
The Eisenhower Matrix.
Have you heard of it?
Vaguely. Refresh my memory.
Sure. So it's a simple but powerful framework for prioritizing tasks. Basically, you categorize tasks based on their urgency and importance.
Okay.
So you have 4 quadrants: urgent and important, important but not urgent,
Okay, follow.
urgent but not important, and then finally, not urgent and not important.
Right, so you figure out where your task lands in those quadrants.
Exactly. And the magic of the Eisenhower Matrix is that it really helps you visualize your to-do list and focus on the tasks that truly matter.
Oh, I love that. It takes the guesswork out of prioritizing. And I bet that's really helpful when you're juggling like multiple classes, assignments, and a social life.
Exactly. It's about working smarter, not harder.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about academic prep, social and cultural adaptation, and even organization and time management.
We have.
But let's be real, university life isn't always smooth sailing.
No, it's not.
There's stress, there's pressure, and it's a whole roller coaster of emotions to navigate.
It is.
So how did the source material, address this, like the mental and emotional side of things? Because I remember feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety when I started university. It's a big adjustment, especially when you're doing it in a different language.
It really is. And that's why taking care of your mental and emotional well-being is just as important as academic success.
Oh, I agree.
The source material introduced a concept called the growth mindset.
The growth mindset.
Yeah, which I think is so valuable for navigating those challenges.
I love that term. Tell me more.
Essentially, it's about viewing challenges as opportunities for learning and growth.
Okay.
So instead of getting bogged down by setbacks, you see them as stepping stones on your path to success.
I like that.
It's a shift in perspective.
It is. It's powerful.
Yeah. And the source even offered a very practical tip for putting this into practice. Instead of engaging in negative self-talk like, I'll never understand this, try replacing it with a positive affirmation, such as, I'm improving with practice.
Oh, that's a good one.
It seems simple, but those small shifts in language can have a huge impact on your mindset.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like reframing the narrative in your head.
Exactly.
From one of defeat to one of possibility. But, let's be honest, a positive mindset can only take you so far.
It's true.
Taking care of your physical well-being is also essential, right?
Absolutely. The source really emphasized the importance of sleep.
Oh, yes. Sleep.
Exercise and a balanced diet for maintaining focus and energy.
All the important things that we tend to forget about when we're stressed.
We do.
Yeah.
It's the foundation for a healthy and productive lifestyle, both in and out of the classroom.
So true. I know. Whenever I let my sleep schedule slip or I'm not eating well, like my focus and motivation just plummet.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect.
It is. It is.
Yeah. And when those stress levels inevitably rise, it's important to have healthy coping mechanisms in place.
Okay, like what?
Things like deep breathing, mindfulness, or even just taking a walk in nature.
Oh, I'm a huge advocate for getting out in nature.
It's so good for you.
Even a short walk can really clear your head and help you come back to your studies feeling, refreshed.
Absolutely.
But, sometimes we need a little extra support, right?
We do.
So what did the source say about that?
It stressed the importance of building a support network. Connect with advisors, professors, or counselors for academic or personal guidance.
They're there to help you.
They are.
To help you navigate the challenges of university life.
Exactly.
That's so reassuring. Knowing you have people to turn to when you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure can make all the difference.
It can. And don't forget about the social support that we can find in student organizations.
Well, yeah.
Joining clubs or societies related to your interests is such a great way to meet like-minded people, explore new hobbies, build a sense of community.
It's not just about academics.
It's not.
It's about finding your tribe, creating a really fulfilling university experience.
Absolutely.
I love that, It's about finding your people, creating a sense of belonging. Because, university can feel pretty isolating at times.
It can.
Especially if you're in a new environment, navigating a different language.
Definitely.
Having that support system can make all the difference.
It really can. And it's not just about getting help when you need it.
Okay.
It's also about celebrating successes together, sharing experiences, and learning from one another.
That's so important. Feeling like you're part of something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the most amazing things about the university experience.
It really is.
Okay, so we've talked about, finding your people. But what about finding your place, specifically on campus?
Oh, yeah, good one.
I remember getting lost so many times during my first week.
I can relate to that. Campuses can feel like labyrinths, especially when you're new to the environment.
They can?
But that's where those orientation sessions and campus tours come in handy.
Oh, yeah, those are super helpful. They usually point out all the key spots, the library, the student union, those, elusive coffee shops that become your second home during exam season. But what about, those less obvious spots?
Oh, yeah.
Like the hidden gems that only seasoned students know about.
The insider knowledge.
Yeah.
That's where connecting with other students, especially those who have been at the university for a while, can really pay off.
Makes sense.
They can point you to the best study spots, the most affordable lunch places.
Oh, yes.
Even those secret shortcuts across campus.
Oh, I love those shortcuts. Especially when you're running late for class.
Exactly. You got to shave off those minutes.
Exactly. But speaking of classes, let's circle back to academics for a moment.
Okay.
One thing I always struggled with was adapting to different teaching styles.
Yeah.
Did the source material touch on that at all?
It did. It highlighted the importance of understanding the various teaching methods that you might encounter. You might have lectures, seminars, tutorials, lab sessions, each with its own unique format and expectations.
Wow, that's a lot to keep track of.
It is.
How can we prepare for that kind of variety?
Well, the key is to be adaptable.
Okay.
And open to new learning experiences.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask questions, clarify expectations.
Yes.
And even experiment with different note-taking techniques to see what works best for each setting.
I love that. It's about finding what works for you, embracing the learning process.
Absolutely.
And speaking of learning, let's talk about those all-important study skills.
Yes.
Because I remember feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of reading and the complexity of the assignments.
Well, yeah.
Any advice for tackling those, academic hurdles?
Well, one tip that really stood out was about active reading.
Okay.
So it's not just about passively absorbing the information, it's about engaging with the text.
Yeah.
Highlighting key points, taking notes, and asking yourself questions as you go along.
Active reading, that's a game changer. Because I used to just highlight everything, and then it's like, well, what was the point of that?
Exactly.
But engaging with the material like that makes so much sense.
It does, yeah. It's like having a conversation with the author.
It is.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of summarizing what you've read in your own words.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
It helps you solidify that understanding, and it makes it easier to recall that information later on.
That's a really good point. It forces you to synthesize the key ideas.
Yeah.
And make connections between different concepts.
Exactly.
Did the source mention any strategies for approaching those more complex assignments?
Yeah.
Like essays or research papers?
They did. One tip that really resonated with me was about breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Oh yeah, bite-sized pieces. I like that.
It's less daunting to tackle a series of, mini deadlines than to face one giant looming deadline.
I love that. It's like creating a roadmap for yourself, and you're celebrating those small victories along the way. It's like climbing a mountain.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
You focus on one step at a time, and before you know it, you've reached the summit.
Exactly. And speaking of summits,
yes,
let's not forget about those all-important exams.
Exams.
I know they can be a major source of stress for students, especially those navigating them in a different language.
They are. I remember those pre-exam jitters all too well.
Yeah.
Any advice for staying calm and collected under pressure?
Well, one suggestion was about creating a study plan well in advance.
Okay.
It allows you to space out your studying, avoid cramming, and just approach the material in a more relaxed and systematic way.
It makes so much sense. It's about working smarter, not harder.
It is.
But even with a solid study plan, I imagine it can be really challenging to retain all that information.
Yeah.
Especially when it's in a language that's not your native tongue.
It's true.
So any tips for that?
Absolutely. That's where those active learning techniques we were talking about come in handy.
Huh?
So instead of just passively rereading your notes, try summarizing key concepts out loud, creating flashcards, or even teaching the material to someone else.
Teaching it to someone else? That's brilliant. It forces you to really understand it.
It does.
And to explain it in a clear and concise way.
Exactly.
I'm definitely going to try that.
And also, don't underestimate the power of practice tests.
Practice tests, those can be helpful, but also scary.
They can be, but the more you practice, the more confident you'll feel on the big day.
Practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly.
But even with all the preparation in the world, there's always, that element of the unknown.
There is.
Like, what if there are unexpected questions?
Yeah.
Or, tricky topics that pop up on the exam?
It happens.
It does. So, any tips for dealing with that?
The source emphasized the importance of staying calm and focusing on what you do know.
Okay, yeah.
Don't let one challenging question throw you off your game. Take a deep breath, move on to questions that you feel confident about, and then you can come back to those trickier ones later.
That's such a good point. It's about staying focused and not letting, those nerves get the best of you.
Yeah.
But what if you completely blank on a question?
Oh, we've all been there.
Any strategies for those, like moments of panic?
One tip that really resonated with me was to just try and trigger your memory by thinking back to your notes, the textbook, or even classroom discussions.
Yeah.
Sometimes just a small spark can kind of reignite your recall and help you pull that information from the depths of your brain.
I love that. It's like sending a search party into your memory bank to retrieve those lost facts.
Exactly.
But what about those exams that involve writing essays or short answers?
Yeah.
Any tips for crafting clear and compelling responses, especially, when English isn't your first language?
Well, the source emphasized the importance of planning.
Okay.
And outlining your responses before you start writing.
Planning is key.
It is.
It's so tempting to just dive right in.
It is.
But taking that time to organize your thoughts can make such a difference in the clarity and the coherence of your writing.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to use those brainstorming techniques we talked about earlier.
Right.
Jot down key words, create mind maps, or even just free write for a few minutes to kind of get those ideas flowing.
Oh, I love free writing.
It's a great tool.
It's a great way to get past that initial blank page syndrome.
Yeah.
And just start putting words on paper.
Exactly. And once you have a draft, don't forget to revise and edit carefully.
Revision is essential.
It is.
It's so easy to miss errors when you're just focused on getting your ideas down. Did the source mention any specific strategies for revising and editing, especially, when writing in a different language?
Well, one tip that stood out was about reading your work aloud.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It helps you catch any awkward phrasing or grammatical errors that might not be as obvious when you're reading silently.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like hearing your writing with fresh ears. Did they have any other suggestions for, polishing those written responses?
They also recommended seeking feedback from others, whether it's a classmate, a tutor, or even a friend who's a native English speaker.
Oh, that's so helpful. Sometimes another perspective can really, spot things that we miss.
You can.
Especially when it comes to grammar and clarity.
Exactly. It's all about embracing those opportunities to learn and improve. And remember, even professional writers, they rely on feedback and editing to refine their work.
It's a team effort. Okay, so we've talked about academic prep, study skills, and even exam strategies.
We have.
But let's not forget about the bigger picture. What about finding a balance between academics and everything else that university life has to offer?
Yeah.
I remember feeling pulled in so many different directions.
Yeah.
Classes, studying, socializing, extracurricular activities. It's a lot.
It's a lot to juggle for sure. And it's something that every student struggles with at some point.
So how do we find that sweet spot?
Yeah.
Between hitting the books and, embracing all those other amazing experiences that university has to offer?
Well, the source emphasized the importance of prioritizing and setting boundaries.
Okay.
It's about figuring out what matters most to you and making conscious choices about how you spend your time.
So it's about being intentional with your time and energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in that whirlwind of activities and commitments.
Yeah, it is. FOMO is real.
It is. But taking the time to reflect on your values and goals can help you make choices that align with your priorities.
I love that. It's about creating a university experience that's both fulfilling and sustainable.
Exactly.
But what if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or burnt out?
It happens.
Yeah, what then?
The source stressed the importance of self-care.
Okay.
And seeking support when you need it.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a break, step back, and just recharge your batteries.
Sometimes we forget that. We feel like we have to be on all the time.
We do.
Yeah. So it's really important to give ourselves permission to rest and prioritize our well-being.
Absolutely. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. University can be challenging,
Yeah,
but it's also an incredibly rewarding experience.
it really is.
It's a time of growth, discovery, and making memories that will last a lifetime.
It is.
Yeah. So embrace the challenges, celebrate the victories, and just savor every moment of this incredible chapter.
Speaking of chapters, it feels like we've covered a whole book's worth of information today. We've talked about everything from, academic prep to social and cultural adaptation to study skills, exam strategies, and even finding that balance, taking care of yourself.
We have. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. But I feel like we've equipped our listener with a toolkit full of valuable tips and strategies
We have.
to, help them navigate this exciting and sometimes overwhelming new world.
I agree. And I hope they feel empowered to embrace those challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
Me too. To our listener out there who's about to start their university journey, we believe in you.
Absolutely.
You got this. Go out there and make the most of it. And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.
I feel like we've given them a roadmap, a compass, and maybe even a few snacks for the journey.
Exactly. We've covered so much ground. But if I had to distill it down to one key takeaway,
Okay.
it would be this. Preparation is key.
Absolutely. Being prepared academically, culturally, and mentally will make those first few weeks so much smoother.
Yeah.
But even with all the preparation in the world, I imagine there might still be some lingering nerves.
Oh, for sure.
So what would you say to our listener who's, about to embark on this incredible adventure?
Well, I'd remind them that university is not just about absorbing information. It's
Right.
about expanding your horizons, challenging your perspectives,
Yeah.
and becoming a part of a vibrant community of learners.
That's such a great point. It's a journey of self-discovery, both inside and outside the classroom. What advice would you give for, making the most of that journey?
Embrace the unknown. Be open to new experiences.
Right.
Step outside your comfort zone and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
I love that. It's about embracing the learning process, even when it gets messy. But what about those moments when it feels a bit overwhelming? Any words of wisdom for navigating those inevitable challenges?
Remember that you're not alone.
Okay.
Reach out to your support network, whether it's friends, family, professors, advisors. They're there to guide you and cheer you on every step of the way.
Support systems are so crucial. Knowing that you have people to turn to can make all the difference.
Yeah. And sometimes just talking things through can help you gain clarity and perspective.
Absolutely. Any other party words of wisdom for our listener?
Stay curious.
Okay.
Never stop learning, and remember to celebrate your accomplishments along the way. University is an incredible adventure, and I'm so excited for our listener to embark on this journey.
Me too. To our listener out there who's about to start their university journey, we believe in you.
Absolutely. Go out there and make the most of it.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
See you next time.
I feel like we've given them a roadmap and a compass, maybe even some snacks for the journey.
Exactly. And we've covered so much.
We have.
But if I had to distill it down to one key takeaway, it'd be this. Preparation is key.
Absolutely. Being prepared academically, culturally, and mentally will make those first few weeks so much smoother.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot to think about.
It is. But even with all the preparation in the world, I imagine there might still be some lingering nerves out there.
Oh, absolutely. Starting university is a big deal.
It is. So what would you say to our listener, who's about to embark on this incredible adventure?
I would say just remember that university is so much more than just hitting the books. It's about expanding your horizons, challenging your perspectives, and really becoming a part of this vibrant community of learners.
I love that. It's a journey of self-discovery, both inside and outside the classroom.
It really is.
What advice would you give for making the most of that journey?
I would say embrace the unknown. Be open to new experiences, step outside of your comfort zone, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
I love that. It's about embracing the learning process, even when it gets messy.
Exactly. And, it will get messy sometime.
Oh, it will. What about those moments when it feels a bit overwhelming? Any words of wisdom for navigating those inevitable challenges?
I think the most important thing is to remember that you're not alone. reach out to your support network.
Okay.
Whether it's friends, family, professors, advisors, they are there to guide you and cheer you on every step of the way.
Yeah, those support systems are so crucial. Knowing that you have people to turn to can make all the difference. And sometimes just talking things through can help you gain some clarity and perspective. Any other parting words of wisdom for our listener?
Stay curious, never stop learning, and remember to celebrate your accomplishments along the way. University is an incredible adventure, and I'm so excited for our listeners to embark on this journey.
Me too. To our listener out there who's about to start their university journey, we believe in you. You got this. Go out there and make the most of it. And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
See you next time. All right, let's dive into something really cool today, really level up our English speaking skills.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, so we've got this guide, right? It's got 10 tips specifically aimed at advanced speakers.
Okay.
But honestly, even if you're, still kind of nervous about ordering a coffee in English, I think the stuff in here is super relevant.
I think so too. It's all about the fundamentals, right? Those core principles that make communication really hit the mark, no matter your level.
Exactly. And it's about, not just being fluent, but expressing yourself in a nuanced way.
Exactly, with precision.
Yeah, really owning it.
And this guide, it starts off by kind of pushing back against this whole idea of just memorizing vocabulary lists.
Ugh, yeah, I've been there, done that.
Right.
Does it really stick, does it?
It's like reading a dictionary of ingredients and expecting to become a chef. You got to see those ingredients in action in a recipe to really get it.
So it's about understanding words in context, not just their definitions.
Precisely.
Okay, so how does that actually work?
Well, think about the word meticulous.
Okay.
If you just memorize the definition, it's kind of, bland, right?
Yeah.
But if you see in a sentence the chef arranged the herbs with meticulous care.
Ooh, I see it now. I can picture it.
Exactly. You not only get the meaning, but you get the feeling, the context, the whole picture.
That's so much better.
Right. So you're not just memorizing, you're absorbing, you're internalizing.
And that makes it easier to actually use the word right, in real life.
Exactly. Because you've seen it in action, you know how it fits. You're not just pulling it out of thin air.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Right. Feeling good about vocab.
Yeah, feeling good. But, sometimes I feel like my English is missing a little. Pizzazz.
Pizzazz, huh?
Yeah, I can say things correctly, but it doesn't have that natural flow that, I don't know, those idioms, phrasal verb.
Yes. The spices of the language.
Exactly. Native speakers just throw them in so effortlessly.
Effortlessly, yeah. And the guide actually encourages us to, really work on that.
Okay, but how do we even begin to tackle that? It's like a whole world of phrases.
It is. But even small steps can make a big difference. Instead of saying, mention the topic, try saying, bring up the topic.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that does sound more natural.
Right. It's a small tweak, but it adds that, that little something extra.
So it's about those subtle changes that make a big impact.
Exactly. And you don't have to learn them all at once. Just try incorporating one new idiom or phrasal verb each day. Practice it. Own it.
Okay, small steps, big results. Got it.
Perfect.
So speaking of making our language more expressive, the guide also talks about pronunciation and intonation.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
It's not just about saying the words right, but about how you say them, conveying the meaning behind the words.
Yeah, I can imagine someone giving a presentation, but if they're monotone or mumbling, it doesn't matter how good the grammar is, right?
Exactly. The message gets lost.
So what are some common mistakes people make with intonation, and how can those mistakes impact their message?
Well, one common mistake is speaking with very little variation in pitch. It makes you sound, a bit robotic or maybe bored,
Yeah, if you're asking a question but your voice doesn't go up at the end, it just sounds like a statement.
Exactly. Or, on the flip side, some people overemphasize everything, and that can sound unnatural or aggressive.
Right.
The key is balance, using intonation to convey the right emotion, the right intent, the right feeling.
So how do we actually get better at using intonation, beyond just being aware of it?
The guide recommends a technique called shadowing. You listen to a podcast or watch a video, and you immediately repeat what the speaker says, mimicking everything. The words, the speed, the tone, the pauses.
So it's like vocal karaoke.
Exactly. But instead of singing, you're training your voice to replicate those subtle nuances of natural speech.
That sounds fun. I like it.
And it's so good for fluency, for rhythm, for pronunciation, for confidence.
Okay, shadowing is going on my list.
Awesome.
But, all this talk about pronunciation and intonation makes me think about something that I think is one of the biggest hurdles for non-native speakers.
Oh, what's that?
Thinking in English.
Ah, yes. The holy grail of fluency, right? The guide really stresses how essential this is.
Because when you're constantly translating in your head, it's like there's an extra step in the conversation.
Exactly. It slows you down. It makes things feel clunky.
And it can be so frustrating, Like I know what I want to say, but it gets lost in translation.
I get it. It's like having this mental barrier between you and the word.
Exactly. But when you think directly in English, it's like, boom, the words just flow.
Exactly. It's faster, it's smoother, it's natural.
Okay, but how do we actually make that switch? Like, it feels like such a huge mental leap.
It does, but the guide has some great tips, like try narrating your daily activities in your head in English.
Like, what? Just talking to myself in English?
Oh, okay, I'm brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
Now I'm making coffee.
Mm.
What should I wear today? Just everyday stuff.
Oh, interesting. I never thought about that. Like, just creating that constant stream of English in my head.
Precisely. It starts to create that habit, that mental pathway.
So I'm basically rewiring my brain.
In a way, yes. And another suggestion is to practice forming opinions on random topics in English.
Okay, so just pick a topic and start thinking about it in English.
Exactly. It could be anything. A movie, a book, your favorite food, the weather. The point is to get your mind used to working in English, even when you're not speaking out loud.
Okay, so it's all about building that mental muscle, that English muscle.
Yes.
And what better way to flex that muscle than by actually having conversations, right? The guide really emphasizes that next.
Oh, absolutely. It says nothing beats real-life practice. That's where you really get to test your skills, adapt to different accents and speaking styles, and build that confidence.
Real conversations are like the ultimate proving ground.
They are. But I know it can be intimidating to actually put yourself out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So the guide recommends things like joining language exchange platforms like Tandem or HelloTalk, where you can connect with other learners.
Oh, that's a cool idea. So you're not just studying English, you're using it to connect with people.
Exactly. And they also suggest attending local meetups or clubs where English is spoken.
Like finding those spaces where you can just immerse yourself in the language.
Yes. So you're not just practicing grammar rules, you're actually living the language.
I love that. Okay, so we've got our vocabulary, our idioms, our pronunciation. We're thinking in English. We're having conversations. But what happens when we get stuck, when we just can't find the right word?
Ah, that's where paraphrasing comes in. It's like this secret weapon, this linguistic safety net.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So imagine you're trying to explain something, but that perfect word is just on the tip of your tongue, but you can't quite grasp it.
I've been there. It's the worst feeling.
Right. Well, paraphrasing helps you work around that. It's about saying the same thing, but in different words.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say you want to say you're very tired, but the word exhausted just won't come to you. You could say, I'm completely drained, or I have absolutely no energy left.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Same meaning, different words.
So you're not letting a missing word derail the entire conversation.
Exactly. You're keeping the flow going.
And beyond just avoiding awkward pauses, are there any other benefits to paraphrasing?
Oh, definitely. It actually has some pretty amazing cognitive benefits. Research shows that paraphrasing strengthens your vocabulary, it promotes flexible thinking, and it even helps you understand things better.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that powerful.
It is. Because when you paraphrase, you're really engaging with the meaning. You're exploring different ways to express it.
Okay, so we've covered vocab, idioms, pronunciation, thinking in English, paraphrasing. Feels like we're hitting all the bases.
We are. But there's one more piece of the puzzle that we need to talk about. Grammar.
Grammar. I know it's important, but sometimes it just feels so, daunting.
I get it. It can feel like a chore. But think of it this way. Mastering grammar, especially those more advanced structures, it's like adding those finishing touches, that polish that makes your English really shine.
Okay, I like that analogy.
It allows you to express yourself with more sophistication, more precision.
So can you give me an example? What's one specific structure that we can focus on, and how can it help us sound more, sophisticated?
Let's talk about conditional sentences.
Okay, conditional sentences, those are the if-then ones.
Exactly. They let you explore hypothetical situations, express cause and effect, even regret Like, there's this great example in the guide. If I'd known you were here, I would have come over to introduce myself sooner.
Oh, yeah. It's like that feeling of, oh, I wish I had.
Exactly. It adds this layer of complexity, this nuance to your expression.
I see what you mean. It's not just stating a fact. It's exploring possibilities, emotions, all that.
Precisely. And that's the power of these structures. They add depth and richness to your language. They let you express a wider range of ideas and emotions.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, and we're just getting started. We've got more techniques to explore and some fun exercises to put all this into practice. But for now,
let's take a quick breather before we dive into the next part.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've unpacked a ton of useful tips, right?
We have.
I'm ready to put them into practice. The guide actually has some exercises, and they seem kind of fun.
Yeah, they do. Like, remember how we talked about forming opinions in English?
Yeah.
Well, there's this exercise called debate practice.
Debate practice, like arguing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in a structured way. You pick a topic, any topic,
Okay.
and you argue both sides of the issue.
Oh, that's interesting. Like, even if you don't agree with one side.
Especially then, it forces you to think critically, to find those persuasive points, to really use those vocabulary and grammar skills we've been talking about.
I like it. It's like a mental workout for your English.
Exactly. And the guide even gives an example topic, is technology improving our lives? That always gets people talking.
Oh, yeah, there's so much to unpack there. What are some other, like, hot button topics we could try?
How about, is social media more harmful than helpful?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. And the key is to, like, give yourself a minute to argue each side. Really challenge yourself to see it from both perspectives.
Okay, I'm already thinking of arguments. I can see how this would be super helpful.
Right. It's not just about fluency. It's about critical thinking, persuasion, all those skills that make you a powerful communicator.
I'm sold on debate practice. What's next?
All right. Ready for some role-playing?
Role-playing, like acting.
Kind of, but it's all about practicing real-life scenarios. You know, like the guide gives examples like ordering food at a restaurant, giving a presentation.
Oh, I see. So it's like taking those language skills out of the textbook and into the real world.
Exactly. It's one thing to know the words, but it's another to actually use them in a real conversation.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like I freeze up, you know, when I'm put on the spot.
I totally get it. That's why role-playing is so great.
Yes.
You get to practice those situations in a safe environment, build your confidence, get comfortable with the flow.
And you can be creative with it, right? Like, make up your own scenarios.
Absolutely. Get friends involved, make it fun, maybe even a little silly.
I'm liking this more and more. Okay, what's the final exercise?
All right, get ready for the speed round.
Speed round. This sounds intense.
It is, but it's also super effective. Basically, you choose a random topic and you talk about it for a full minute, nonstop.
Wait, a whole minute, no pauses.
No pause, it's just a continuous flow of English.
This sounds like a challenge, but I kind of love it.
Right, like
Bah.
a sprint for your speaking skills.
Yeah.
You're pushing yourself, you're breaking through those mental blocks.
And it forces you to think quickly, to find the words, to keep the conversation going.
Exactly. It's amazing for building fluency and confidence.
I can't wait to try this one. I love how these exercises are all things we can incorporate into our daily lives, you know, like while we're commuting, waiting in line, even doing chores.
Exactly. It's about finding those little pockets of time to keep our English muscles working.
Okay, so we've got our toolkit of tips, we've got our workout routine of exercises. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to kind of like zoom out.
Zoom out.
Yeah, like what are the key takeaways here? What do we really need to remember?
I think the core message is this: becoming a more confident, more expressive English speaker. It requires effort, it requires dedication. It's about being proactive, actively engaging with the language.
It's not just about passively studying, right? It's about getting out there and using it.
Exactly. It's about embracing the challenge, trying new things, celebrating those small wins along the way.
And speaking of challenges, what about mistakes? We all make them, and they can be so discouraging.
Oh, absolutely. But the guide reminds us that mistakes are inevitable. They're part of the process.
Okay, but how do we, like, not let them get us down?
By shifting our perspective, instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we need to see them as opportunities to learn.
Oh, I like that. Like, each mistake is a stepping stone.
Exactly. It's feedback. It's a chance to adjust, to improve.
So it's about embracing the journey, mistakes and all, right? And remembering that this is a continuous process.
Yes, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Love that. Okay, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, any final words of wisdom for our listeners? Like, what should they keep in mind as they continue on this journey?
We've talked about a lot of techniques, but the most important thing is to find what works best for you. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So it's about personalizing the journey, making it your own.
Exactly. Experiment, try new things, and most importantly, have fun. Because the more you enjoy the process, the more successful you'll be.
That's such great advice. It's about finding that sweet spot where learning feels both challenging and enjoyable.
Yes.
Okay, before we move on, I'm curious, what's one specific action our listeners can take today to put all this into practice? Something tangible, something they can do right now.
I would say choose one of those exercises we talked about and commit to trying it out within the next 24 hours.
Okay, so like pick one and go for it.
Exactly. It could be 5 minutes of shadowing or trying to use a new idiom in a conversation. The key is to take action, to experience the power of these techniques firsthand.
I love that challenge. Okay, folks, you heard it here first. Time to step up your English game. I love that. It's like taking that first step is often the hardest part, but once you do it, it creates this momentum.
Exactly. It's like, oh, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
And then you start building that confidence, that sense of, hey, I'm making progress.
And the cool thing is there's so many resources out there to help us, right?
Oh, tons. We've talked about language exchange platforms, but there are also like pronunciation apps,
right,
podcasts, videos. Like, it's amazing what's available these days.
It's like having a personalized language learning toolkit right in our pocket.
Exactly. And as you get better, as you start seeing those results, the whole journey becomes even more enjoyable.
Yeah, it's like you unlock a new level and then you're like, okay, what's next? Bring on the challenge.
I love that analogy. It's so true. There's this sense of accomplishment of like, wow, I can understand this. I can express myself. I can connect with people in this new way.
It's like gaining a superpower. Seriously.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into advanced English speaking skills, I want to leave everyone with this thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
Don't be afraid to embrace the challenge.
Embrace the challenge.
Experiment, try new things, and most importantly, have fun along the way.
Because it's a journey, right? It's not about being perfect overnight. It's about enjoying the process.
Exactly. And remember, the most important thing is to keep speaking, keep practicing, and just enjoy this incredible journey of becoming a more confident, more expressive communicator.
Beautifully said. And never forget, the rewards are huge E.
That's it for this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep those language fires burning.
All right. Welcome to this deep dive. You sent us some fascinating excerpts about how verbs can be so different in American and British English. And we're excited to kind of unearth all the linguistic gems hiding in there.
Sounds fun.
Have you ever thought about, I don't know, how just one word, a simple word, can have totally different meanings depending on, where you are in the world?
All the time. It's fascinating.
It is. Today we're going to explore some of those crazy nuances, especially with those verbs we use every day. Those ones that can kind of add that local flavor to a conversation or even lead to some pretty funny misunderstandings.
Yeah, it's easy to assume that English is like this uniform language, but it's really not. Those regional variations you mentioned, they're like, I don't know, spices. They make things interesting.
Okay, I like that, linguistic spices.
Yeah.
So let's unpack some of these. My notes say even the simplest verbs can really throw us for a loop. What's the first one that kind of jumped out at you?
To call, definitely.
To call, okay.
In American English, we pretty much only use it for phone calls, right?
Right.
But imagine you're in Britain and your friend says, I'll call tomorrow. You might be sitting by the phone all day.
Yeah, waiting for the phone to ring.
But they could just mean they're going to come over for a visit.
Oh, wow. See, that's a recipe for a misconnection right there.
Definitely.
It's funny how, such a tiny word can have completely different meanings. Mm-hmm. What other, everyday verbs should we be careful with?
To drop is another one.
To drop.
Yeah. Americans might say they're dropping a class, meaning, quitting it.
Yeah.
But in British English, dropping by is a pretty common way to say you're going to visit someone casually.
So context is everything. It's not just the word itself, but how you use it, right? What about verbs like take and get? I mean, those seem pretty basic.
They can be tricky, though.
Oh, really?
But think about it. An American would say, take me to the airport, right? It's all about the transportation. Right. But a Brit might say, I'm going to take a holiday.
Take a holiday.
So they're using take for a leisure activity.
It's subtle, right? It's each culture has its own way of framing an action or an experience, even if the basic words are the same.
It's fascinating.
What about get, though? Seems like you hear that one everywhere.
Get is pretty versatile in both dialects, but you'll find some interesting differences.
Yeah.
Americans might say, like, I'll get you a drink, focused on acquiring something.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
But Brits often use get in those phrasal verbs, like, I'll get back to you later, focusing on the response.
Interesting. It is fascinating how these tiny little variations can really reveal like deeper things about a culture. Do you think some of these differences reflect like different values or ways of life?
That's a really interesting question. And something to think about as we look at more examples. Why don't we move on to those verbs that are completely different between American and British English? Words that might as well be from different planets, like that classic bill versus check in restaurants.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. I can totally picture myself in a pub in London asking for the check and getting some very confused looks.
It would definitely happen.
Yeah. Mental note, use bill next time I'm across the pond.
Definitely. And it's not just restaurants, right? You've got lift versus elevator, queue versus line. It's the same concept, but different words.
This is making me realize I might be missing out on things when I watch British TV shows and movies. Like, I'm not understanding as much as I thought.
Maybe, but that's what makes it fun, right? There are all these hidden layers of meaning. Now let's try something even more challenging. Phrasal verbs.
Okay.
Those verbs combined with prepositions or adverbs. They can be tricky even for native speakers. For example, pick up has slightly different vibes in each dialect. Americans might say pick up groceries, while Brits might use it to mean collecting someone, like pick me up at the station.
Oh, I've definitely noticed that. It's subtle, but it can be so confusing if you don't know. It really shows how much context matters.
Yeah.
What other phrasal verbs do we need to watch out for?
Well, show up is a good one. Americans use it all the time, but Brits often say turn up instead.
Turn up. Okay.
So, she didn't turn up for the party is the same as she didn't show up for the party to an American.
Turn up sounds more, I don't know, dramatic.
I guess it does.
Like there was a choice involved. I never would have gotten that on my own. What about run out? I feel like I use that one constantly.
Run out is common to both, of course, but Brits tend to use it more formally, like we've run out of petrol, while Americans might say we've run out of milk.
Petrol versus milk. It's funny how the nouns can change the whole feel. It's like those tiny differences paint a little picture of daily life, don't they?
Exactly. Language really reflects our everyday reality. Here's another. Carry on.
Okay.
In American English, it can mean like to complain, like she's always carrying on about her job.
Yeah.
But in British English, it just means to continue, like carry on with your work.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. It seems like British English is more subtle when it comes to expressing annoyance.
You could say that.
So if someone tells me to carry on in Britain, that's probably a good thing.
It probably just means keep doing what you're doing. And then there's hold up, which means the same thing in both places, but the way you say it might be different. Americans might say, traffic held me up, while Brits might say, I was held up by traffic.
But even the word order can give you away. It's like a secret code within the language. I'm starting to see how these tiny differences can really add up. But what does this all mean for us, the listeners? Like, why should we care about all these variations?
Well, it's not just about avoiding awkward situations or misunderstandings.
Okay.
This whole deep dive is really about understanding how language shapes how we see the world and how we connect with each other.
Okay, that's interesting. Tell me more. So, we've been talking about all these verb variations, right? American English, British English. It's fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
But like, how does this actually affect how we, connect with people? Does it matter?
It really does. I mean, think about it. When we understand these differences, we can fine-tune how we talk to people. It makes us better communicators.
Yeah.
It's kind of like learning the customs of a country before you travel there. You wouldn't want to accidentally offend someone just because you use the wrong phrase, would you?
No, definitely not. So it's about being respectful, I guess, realizing that people from different cultures have different ways of expressing themselves.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just avoiding awkward moments, It's about building those genuine connections with people.
That makes sense.
Recognizing that language isn't just about information, it's about understanding different viewpoints, like building bridges between people.
I like that.
When we know about these subtle differences, we can adapt our language, to connect better with people from different backgrounds.
Different backgrounds, okay.
Whether it's a different country, a different part of the country, even a different generation.
Right, so it's like expanding your vocabulary, basically, and using the right tools for the job.
Exactly. And honestly, it's just fun to learn something new and unexpected about something as familiar as language.
For sure. So what's been the most surprising thing for you? What really stood out?
I think for me, it's realizing that even simple verbs, like really basic ones, can have these layers of meaning, these hidden depths. It reminds me that language is alive, it's always evolving.
I know. And there's so much variety. It's pretty amazing.
It is.
We often think about like slang or regional accents when we talk about dialects, but this deep dive is showing that it goes way deeper than that, right? Down to the core verbs we use every single day.
Absolutely. It's like uncovering the secret code within a language you thought you knew. And the more you learn about these little quirks, the more you appreciate how beautiful language really is.
Okay, speaking of secret codes, can you imagine me walking into a pub in London and saying, hey, I just knocked up my friend to see if they want to grab a pint. I bet they'll get some strange looks.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. To knock someone up in British English has quite a different meaning.
Oh, no.
It can mean to wake someone up or, well, in some cases, it can mean to get someone pregnant.
Whoa. Okay, noted. I'll stick to fancy a pint to avoid any awkward situations.
Definitely a safer bet.
But seriously, this deep dive has been eye-opening. We've covered so much from call to knock up and everything in between. Where do we go from here? Like, what's next for all of us word nerds out there?
Well, I think the key is to take what we've learned and use it to keep exploring.
Okay, keep exploring.
Pay attention to how people use language, both in your community and, around the world.
Yeah.
Be curious, ask questions, don't be afraid to make a few mistakes along the way.
Mistakes are just opportunities to learn, right?
Exactly.
It's all part of the fun. And like we've seen, language is constantly changing. It's a living thing, It reflects who we are, our culture, our experiences.
That's true.
So as we keep exploring, we're not just learning about words, we're learning about people. We're learning about the world.
And it leads to this really interesting question about the future of these dialects.
Okay, the future.
Will technology and globalization bring American and British English closer? Or will they keep evolving in different directions?
Different directions, yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see completely new variations popping up, as we find new ways to communicate.
I like that. New ways to communicate.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what other linguistic gems are out there waiting to be discovered.
There's always something new to learn.
That's the beauty of language.
Yeah.
Right. Always changing, always keeping us on our toes. But before we go, I'd love to hear from you, our listener. Have you ever had a funny or confusing experience because of a language difference?
That would be great to hear about.
What other verb variations have you noticed, maybe between American and British English, or even other dialects?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to hear those stories. I think it just shows how language is like a tapestry, woven from all these different experiences, different cultures.
And it's a tapestry that's always changing, right? New words and phrases and expressions keep appearing. It's exciting to think about how technology and, globalization, all that, how it'll shape English going forward.
It's like we're watching it happen, language evolving, adapting to the world around it. It's pretty cool. And we've been focusing on American and British English today, but there's so many other dialects out there.
That's a really important point. I mean, English is spoken all over the world, and it's got so many variations, so many accents. It's amazing.
Right. And each one has its own history and, charm. Thinking about it on that global scale, those differences between American and British English, they seem kind of small. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like we've been looking at this tiny detail in this massive, intricate work of art.
Exactly. And I think that's a beautiful way to put it. The diversity of English is something to celebrate, The fact that it can be so adaptable, so open to change, it just shows how strong it is.
It really does. It's like a living organism, always evolving, growing, and just like with any ecosystem, the more diverse it is, the healthier it is, the more resilient.
I like that. So the next time you hear someone speaking English, and it sounds a little different than what you're used to, don't see it as a bad thing, right? See it as a chance to learn something, a chance to expand your own understanding of language.
Yeah.
Because it's more complex than we realize.
It really is. And who knows, maybe by embracing those differences, by really listening, we can learn something new about ourselves too.
That's a great point to end on. That's the deep dive for today. We hope this little exploration of American and British English has made you curious, made you want to, pay attention to those little quirks of language.
Because they're out there.
They are, and they're fascinating.
Each one of those little differences, those variations, they tell a story. And the more we listen, the more we understand, not just about language, but about the world.
Beautifully said. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep. We'll see you soon. All right, so anyone out there want to pick up English quick, like just the bare bones stuff?
Essentials.
Yeah. We found this YouTube video.
Oh, yeah.
Called 33 Most Useful English Words for Beginners.
Okay.
It's basically like a cheat sheet.
Like a crash course, kind of?
Yeah. For anyone just starting out.
Right. Interesting.
And what's really cool is how they've like grouped these words.
Oh, yeah. I like categorization.
Yeah.
Keeps things tidy.
So it's like greetings to get you by everyday nouns and verbs.
So it's like they're building from the ground up.
Yeah. It's like a little survival pack.
Oh, that's interesting.
But for language.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into this and see if they can really pull off this product.
What price is that?
That you can have like basic conversations.
Oh, wow.
Just from these 33 words.
Okay.
So first up, we have the basics. Greetings. We're talking hello, goodbye, good morning.
Mm-hmm. The pleasantries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you can't forget please and thank you.
Of course not.
You got to be polite.
Oh, yeah. It's funny how those are like universal. Like no matter what language.
It transcends language.
You've got a way to be polite, to acknowledge someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
It's more than just the words.
It really is.
You're establishing a connection.
A rapport.
Yeah. Like a thank you can go a long way.
Absolutely.
Anywhere in the world.
But then the video gets into what they call survival words.
Survival words.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Like imagine you're in a new place.
Okay.
You don't speak the language.
Right.
You need help.
Okay.
So think like yes, no help.
Okay, basic.
Yeah. And even like, where is the bathroom?
Oh, yeah.
Essential.
Essential.
I remember being in this market in Morocco.
Oh, wow.
And it was so crowded.
Yeah.
I was completely lost.
Yeah.
And just knowing how to say, where is the bathroom?
Yeah.
In like their language.
Right.
Was a lifesaver.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
Oh, my gosh.
It's amazing how those like simple phrases can suddenly feel so crucial.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But the video doesn't stop there.
No, they keep going.
They dive into common nouns like food, money, time. I mean, we use these all the time. Mm-hmm. But are they really the key?
That's what I was thinking.
To unlocking deeper conversations like they're suggesting?
Yeah, because I was thinking like, wouldn't it be more interesting to
like
start with verbs?
Oh.
Like to describe actions.
Okay.
Or even feelings,
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
And see where they go with it.
Fair enough. Let's hear them out.
Okay.
All right.
So after nouns, they move on to verbs.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Eat, drink, go, come.
The action.
All the actions.
Yeah.
And what's really cool.
Yeah, what's that?
Is they emphasize using different tenses.
Ah.
Like went versus going.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something a lot of beginners trip up on.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Because mastering those verb tenses lets you talk about the past, present, future.
Right.
Adds a whole new dimension to how you express yourself.
It's like time travel.
Yeah.
But language needs more than just actions.
Okay, what else does it mean?
Needs some flavor. Needs some
spice.
Yeah. So that's where adjectives come in.
Right.
According to the video.
Okay.
Words like good, bad, big, small, all those ways to describe things.
Right.
And inject some feeling into what you're saying.
Inject some emotion.
Yes.
It is fascinating how just one adjective can completely change the tone of a sentence.
I like that.
Good is fine.
Okay.
But saying something is fantastic or terrible.
Ooh.
Now those words.
Now we're talking.
They pack a punch.
Yeah.
And the video really encourages viewers to explore synonyms like that, to expand their vocabulary.
It's like they're saying.
What are they saying?
Like, don't just tell me it's bad.
Right?
Tell me how W bad.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious. What do you think about their choice of adjectives?
Okay.
Are those really the most essential ones to learn first?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
while those are certainly common, I wonder if prioritizing adjectives related to emotions might be more impactful.
Interesting.
Think about words like happy, sad, excited, scared.
Okay.
Those tap into a deeper level of communication, allowing you to express how you feel and connect with others on a more personal level.
Yeah, you're right. Those definitely seem more powerful than big or small. You put it that way.
For sure.
Okay, so we've got nouns, verbs, adjectives. What's missing?
What is missing?
Questions.
The question mark.
Yes.
Okay.
They're the key to unlocking information.
Right.
And, like the video suggests having deeper conversations.
Okay.
What, where, when, why, how. Imagine trying to navigate a new city without those.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
Not fun.
Yeah.
But it's more than just getting directions.
Right.
Those question words are the starting point for learning about anything, right?
Yeah.
It's how we satisfy our curiosity.
Totally.
Explore the world around us.
And just like with the other word categories, these questions can lead to so many different conversations.
Oh, I bet.
Like just starting with where could lead you to discussions about travel.
Oh, yeah.
History, culture, who knows?
Right.
It's really exciting.
Very exciting.
But before we get too carried away, let's take a little pause. And we'll come back for part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good. Welcome back. Ready to go a bit deeper with this idea.
Yeah. Are 33 words really enough for real conversations?
I mean, it's a big claim.
Right.
But
they're thinking big.
Yeah.
So one thing they emphasize is like context.
Context. Okay.
Like just taking the word good can mean so many different things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It all depends on how you use it.
Right. Good could describe food.
Yeah.
A person's character.
Exactly.
Even the weather.
Yeah.
Like it all depends.
You can't just memorize definitions.
Right. You got to understand how it works, how the word functions.
In a sentence.
In a real life situation.
Yeah. So that's where practice comes in.
Practice. Okay.
They talk about using these words in everyday conversations.
Right.
Maybe even doing like role play.
Oh, like little scenarios?
Yeah. To get comfortable.
I like that.
I actually did that when I was learning Spanish. It felt so silly, but it really helped.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
When you use the words in context, you start to internalize the nuances and you build confidence.
We get that confidence.
And it doesn't always have to be formal practice either.
Oh, that's true.
They also mention listening for these words.
Okay.
Like in real conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Like movies or TV shows.
Okay.
Like passive learning.
Right.
But you're still absorbing the language.
That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah, we're surrounded by opportunities to learn.
We are.
Even when we don't realize it.
All the time.
Speaking of noticing patterns.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool how they broke down the 33 words.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Into those categories.
Right.
Nouns, verbs, adjectives, and so on.
It's like they're giving you a framework.
Yeah.
For understanding how language works.
It's like a little toolbox.
Oh, a linguistic toolkit?
Yeah.
You got your nouns to name things, verbs to describe actions, adjectives to add detail. And then once you get how those pieces fit together, you can start building more complex sentences.
It's pretty clever.
It is.
When you think about it.
But they don't just leave you with a toolbox.
No, they give you some tips.
Okay.
Like for practice.
Yeah.
Like using flashcards to test yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking out loud to get the pronunciation down.
Those multisensory approaches are helpful for language learning. When you engage like multiple senses, sight, sound, even touch, it helps solidify the information.
Okay.
And for those who like a more hands-on approach, they recommend keeping a journal.
A journal?
Yeah.
How does that work with 33 words?
Well, the idea is to try to incorporate those words into your entries.
Okay.
Even if it's just like a few sentences.
So you're tracking your progress.
Tracking your progress.
Getting comfortable.
Getting comfortable using the words.
And making it more personal.
Making the learning process more personal.
That's actually a really good idea.
It is.
Yeah. You take the focus off of just memorizing.
Yeah.
And it becomes more creative.
Right. And I bet seeing yourself use those words correctly day after day would be a huge confidence booster.
Absolutely. Confidence is key.
It is.
For language learning.
It's not just about knowing the words.
Yeah.
It's about feeling comfortable using them.
Right.
And that confidence comes from practice, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone and embracing those mistakes.
The mistakes along the way.
Oh, yeah. I used to get so flustered
Oh, yeah.
when I would mess up a word or a phrase.
Yeah.
But now I just laugh it off
That's good.
and keep trying.
It's all part of the process.
Yeah, it's all part of the learning curve.
Every mistake is a learning opportunity.
Right?
It helps you identify where you need to improve,
Yeah.
and it gives you a chance to try again.
Try again.
So don't be afraid to experiment. Make mistakes and have fun with it.
But before we get too carried away
Yeah.
with all this talk of practice and confidence,
Right.
let's take a quick break and come back for the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, we're back and ready for the final part of our deep dive
Right.
into these 33 essential words.
It's amazing how much we've unpacked, even though it seems like a simple concept.
Yeah, when you first look at it, you're like, oh, 33 words.
Yeah.
But we've gone pretty deep.
Yeah. As the video points out, though, this is really just the starting point.
Yeah, it's like they've given us the basic tools.
A foundation.
Yeah. Now it's up to us to build something.
To build on that.
Yeah. And they give us some suggestions
Oh, they do?
for continuing the journey,
Yeah, like what?
like watching movies with subtitles,
Okay.
listening to music,
Yeah.
even reading books.
It's all about immersing yourself in the
Yeah.
language, finding ways to make it a part of your daily life.
Yeah.
The more you expose yourself to English, the more natural it'll become.
That's true. I remember when I was learning Spanish,
Oh, yeah.
I started watching telenovelas
Telenovelas.
with subtitles.
Yeah.
They were so cheesy, but
Oh, right.
really helped me kick up
Yeah.
everyday phrases.
Right. And slang.
Yes.
And it highlights something the video touches on.
What's that?
The importance of like paying attention
Yeah.
to how these words are used in different situations.
So it's not just about knowing the definition.
Exactly. It's about how they're used.
Yeah, yeah. How does good change when you're talking about food
Right.
versus someone's personality?
That's a good thought exercise.
Right.
It forces you to think beyond the basic definition. Consider the nuances
Yeah.
of how a word can be used.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's developing a deeper understanding
Deeper understanding.
of how language works.
Yeah. And speaking of nuances,
Okay.
I was impressed by how the video encouraged viewers to think about the emotional weight behind certain words.
Oh, yeah, like happy and sad.
Yeah, not just happy and sad,
Yeah.
but all those shades of emotion.
Like
Was
delighted versus content.
Yeah, those convey different levels of happiness.
Right.
Exactly. And being able to express
Yeah.
those subtle differences in feeling is a key part of effective communication.
Yeah. It lets you connect
Yeah.
on a deeper level.
Don't just tell me you're happy.
Yeah.
Tell me what kind of happy you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to what we talked about earlier.
What's that?
The power of language.
Oh, the power of language.
To connect us.
To connect.
To understand each other.
To build bridges.
Yes.
It is remarkable when you think about it.
It is.
These 33 words, seemingly so simple,
Yeah.
can unlock a world of communication
And connection.
and connection.
I think that's a beautiful way to wrap up
I think so too.
this deep dive
We've explored these essential words.
from every angle.
Yeah. And it's clear they're much more
Yeah.
than just a list,
More than a YouTube video.
a starting point for a lifelong journey
Ooh, I like that.
of language learning
And discovery.
and discovery.
So now we want to leave you with a thought.
Oh, a thought to ponder
Yes. What are some simple words
in your native language
that are surprisingly versatile?
or essential for communication.
We encourage you to explore those hidden depths.
The magic within the most basic vocabulary.
Thanks for joining us on this linguistic adventure.
Until next time,
Keep exploring.
the power of words. Okay, so you want to start thinking in English, right? Not just studying it, but actually thinking.
Like flipping a switch in your brain.
Exactly. And this video you send over, it's all about that.
It's about 20 minutes long.
Yeah, for intermediate and above learners.
People who are ready for that next level.
Okay, so the video jumps right into the benefits.
And I have to say, some of them surprised me.
Me too. I mean, obviously there's fluency, right?
Words just come out easier when you're not translating in your head.
But it goes deeper than that.
Way deeper.
Like the video argues that thinking in English actually improves your comprehension overall.
It's like you develop an intuition for the language.
Oh, that's good. Like you said, it really is like flipping a switch in your brain.
You're not just memorizing rules anymore.
You're actually feeling the language, the rhythm of it.
That's a great way to put it.
So how do we actually do this?
How do we flip that switch?
Well, the video has a bunch of practical tips.
The first one is surprisingly simple.
Almost too simple, I
So
thought.
label everything.
Like everything.
Look around you right now.
Okay, I see a lamp, a chair, my computer.
And instead of thinking of those in your native language,
You think of them in English.
lamp, chair, computer,
So basic,
but
But-
this works.
our brains are wired for association, right?
So you're constantly linking the object.
With the English word.
It strengthens that connection,
Makes it automatic.
like building mental muscle memory.
Okay, that makes sense for objects, but what about thoughts?
More complex ideas?
That's where the inner monologue comes in, I guess.
Talking to yourself in English.
Ooh, that sounds a little
Weird.
Yeah, a little weird.
It is at first.
Our native language is just so automatic,
It's the default.
But the video says that the more we catch ourselves slipping back,
And consciously choose English?
the stronger that English brain gets.
Exactly.
So it's about being mindful
Catching those thoughts as they pop up.
and reframing them in English.
The video gives some good examples.
Like what?
Imagine you're washing the dishes.
Okay, I do that a lot.
Instead of thinking, ugh, these plates are dirty, in your native language.
You could think, man, these plates need a good scrub in English.
Okay, I see.
You're narrating your life in English.
That's a cool way to think about it.
But what if you hit a word you don't know?
That happens to me all the time.
That's where a little creativity comes in.
Creativity.
Describe the word in English instead of switching back to your native language.
Oh, interesting.
So you don't know the word toaster,
Okay.
but you can think that thing that makes bread crispy,
So you stay in the English mindset.
even when your vocabulary is limited.
That's really clever, actually.
It keeps the flow going.
So we've got labeling and inner monologue.
What else could there be?
Well, the video also talks about immersion,
Surrounding yourself with the language as much as possible.
like reading English books,
Yes. And articles, websites, anything you enjoy.
listening to English music.
Podcasts, movies, the news, anything.
Okay, but doesn't that feel like work?
It shouldn't. Even if we enjoy the content, it still takes effort.
That's why choosing something you genuinely like is so important.
So you're not just forcing yourself to study.
You're actually enjoying the experience,
Makes sense.
and you're absorbing the language naturally.
But what about different types of content?
What do you mean?
Like, is reading a novel better than scrolling through social media, for example?
That's a good point. While any exposure helps,
Engaging with more complex language is key.
right, reading a novel will expose you to richer vocabulary and grammar,
Than just skimming tweets.
much richer.
So it's about quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
But even with good content, sometimes I feel like my brain just tunes out the English.
I know what you mean.
Like I'm reading the words, but they're not sinking in.
It happens.
So how do you prevent that?
The video suggests visualizing.
Visualizing, what do you mean?
As you read or listen, create a mental image of what the words mean.
Interesting.
It forces your brain to process the information more deeply.
Give me an example.
You read the word sparkling.
Sparkling.
You should picture a diamond glittering in the sunlight.
Ooh, I see. That makes it more vivid.
More memorable.
Okay, I like that tip.
So far, so good.
Yeah, but it feels like a lot,
All these tips at once.
Labeling, inner monologue, immersion.
It's a lot to take in.
And to make it a daily habit, it feels overwhelming.
That's why the video says to start small.
Not try to do everything at once.
Right. Build up gradually.
So baby steps.
Pick a specific time of day
Just 5 minutes, maybe?
and commit to thinking only in English during that time.
Could be first thing in the morning.
Or on your commute to work.
Or while you're cooking dinner.
Anytime that works for you.
Set a timer and go.
Exactly.
Once that feels comfortable, you can increase the time.
Slowly but surely.
Okay, starting small, I get it.
It's about creating a sustainable routine.
Something you can stick with.
But how do you track your progress?
Yeah, how do you know if it's actually working?
The next tip is all about that.
Okay, hit me with it.
Summarize your day in English.
Out loud or in writing.
Either one works.
So it's like a mini journal,
Sort of. You're reviewing the day's events.
but you're doing it all in English.
It helps you organize your thoughts.
And see how far you've come.
It also forces you to use the language actively.
Not just passively absorbing it.
You're actually producing it.
Okay, daily summaries. Got it.
Now, for a slightly bolder approach,
Oh boy, bolder.
try thinking aloud.
Wait, what?
Talking to yourself in English?
Like full-on conversations.
Not necessarily full conversations, but
But expressing your thoughts out loud.
yes. It sounds strange,
It does.
but it's incredibly effective.
How so?
It creates a direct connection between thought and speech.
I've never thought about it like that.
In your native language, the words just flow, right?
Yeah, you don't have to think about it.
Thinking aloud in English helps build that same fluidity.
But in a safe space, of course.
Maybe not on a crowded bus.
Definitely not. But at home, when I'm alone. Okay, thinking aloud added to the list.
Now, here's a key concept from the video.
Shoot.
We often learn languages by focusing on individual words.
Vocabulary lists, grammar rules, that kind of thing.
But thinking in English is about thinking in phrases,
Phrases.
chunks of language.
So not just I want coffee.
But I'll have a coffee, please.
That makes sense.
It's more natural.
More fluent.
You're not translating word by word.
You're thinking in complete units of meaning.
Exactly.
But how do you train your brain to do that?
You already do it in your native language.
Really?
Think about everyday expressions.
Like, good morning.
Yes. Or, what are your plans for the weekend?
Instead of thinking plan and weekend separately.
You think of the whole phrase as one unit.
Oh, that's interesting. Like creating mental shortcuts.
Shortcuts for common expressions.
Makes things much smoother.
Now, what about mistakes?
Don't get me started on mistakes.
Everyone makes them.
It's so frustrating, though.
The video says to embrace them.
Embrace them.
They're part of the process.
Easy to say when you're already fluent.
But it's true. Mistakes are how we learn.
I know. It's just hard sometimes.
Each mistake is an opportunity.
An opportunity for what?
To refine your understanding.
To learn something new.
To get better.
Okay. I'll try to see it that way.
Good.
But what about real-life conversations?
How do you use all these tips when you're actually talking to someone?
That's what I'm wondering.
The video gives some examples.
Like what?
Your morning routine, commuting to work, ordering coffee.
Oh, I need help with all of those.
It shows you how to think in English in those situations.
So we can actually apply these tips in practice.
That's the goal.
Sounds good to me.
Shall we dive into those examples?
Absolutely. But first, I think we need a quick break.
Sounds good.
All right, so break time's over. Back to those real-life scenarios.
Where thinking in English really makes a difference.
Let's start with the morning routine.
Okay, you wake up.
Hit the snooze button, maybe.
But instead of thinking 5 more minutes in your native language,
You think, I'm so tired, but I gotta get up in English.
even those first groggy thoughts.
They become practice. I like it.
Now, how about something more challenging?
Ooh, like what?
Ordering coffee.
Oh, yeah. That's always stressful.
Even in my native language.
Seriously. But if you're thinking in English already,
You're one step ahead.
you're not just staring at the menu, panicking.
You're thinking, okay, what am I in the mood for?
Iced coffee, latte, maybe something sweet.
You're preparing for the interaction.
It's like a pep talk in English.
And you can use those chunks we talked about.
Oh, right. The phrases.
Instead of trying to remember each word separately,
You think, I'll have a caramel latte, please?
all is one unit.
My brain is starting to hurt just thinking about all this.
It's a lot to process.
But I'm seeing the bigger picture now.
It's about more than just vocabulary and grammar.
It's a whole different way of thinking.
New mindset.
Okay, so we got to start small, right?
One step at a time.
But how do we know if it's working?
What are some signs that our English brain is getting stronger?
Good question.
Well, do you find yourself translating less?
That would be a good sign.
What about your fluency in conversations?
Has it improved?
Do the words come more naturally?
I guess I'd have to pay attention to that.
And your listening comprehension?
Connected to?
Absolutely. When you're thinking in English,
It's easier to understand spoken English.
your brain is already in that mode.
Wow, this is pretty amazing stuff.
It's changing your relationship with the language,
Not just improving specific skill.
but transforming how you interact with English overall.
Oh, okay, but let's be real. This takes time, right?
It's a journey.
Not a quick fix.
The video makes that very clear.
There's no magic bullet.
It's consistent effort and practice.
What about those moments when you just feel stuck?
We all hit those walls.
Like you're not making progress.
That's where low pressure practice comes in.
Oh yeah, we talked about that before.
Finding a language exchange partner.
Or recording yourself speaking.
Why are those so important?
Yeah, why not just jump into challenging conversations right away?
Because it's about creating a safe space
To experiment, make mistakes,
without feeling judged
so you can build confidence.
before you tackle those tougher situations.
I see. So it's like training wheels for your English brain.
Exactly. But finding a good language partner can be tricky.
Any advice on that?
Look for someone with similar goals and proficiency level
So you can learn together.
and support each other.
There are websites and apps for that, right?
Tons of them.
What about recording yourself speaking?
That's a great way to practice too.
I'm always so awkward when I hear my own voice.
It's normal to feel self-conscious.
Any tips for making it less scary?
Start with a familiar topic.
Something you're comfortable talking about.
Don't worry about being perfect.
Just focus on speaking naturally.
And then listen back and see how you did.
Identify areas for improvement.
It's a valuable learning tool,
Plus, you get used to hearing yourself speak English.
which can boost your confidence.
Okay, this is all making sense.
We've covered a lot of ground today,
From labeling our surroundings to recording ourselves speaking.
but there's one final message in the video.
A takeaway for our listeners.
A reminder that small steps lead to big results.
So even if it feels overwhelming,
Just focus on one thing at a time.
and be patient with yourself.
Consistency is key.
Don't expect to be fluent overnight,
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
but the more you practice,
The easier it will become.
until it becomes second nature.
Like flipping a switch in your brain.
We've come full circle.
So, are you ready for that final question?
Hit me with it. So what's the one thing our listeners should focus on this week? If they could only pick one strategy, what would it be?
That's tough. They're all so helpful.
I know, right? But if you had to choose,
Just one. I'd say start with the inner monologue.
really, inner monologue,
Yeah, it's like the foundation.
the basis for everything else.
Exactly. It's training your brain to think in English automatically.
Even before you open your mouth.
You're building that habit.
Okay, so listener, your challenge this week,
Pay attention to your thoughts
catch yourself thinking in your native language.
and make that switch to English.
See how it feels.
Does it get easier?
Do you notice a difference?
Let us know.
And remember, don't get discouraged.
It takes time.
Be patient.
Celebrate the small wins.
Keep that English voice going in your head.
You got this.
This has been amazing. So many great tips.
It's all about changing your mindset.
Seeing English as more than just a subject to study.
It's a language to live in,
To think in, to dream in.
to experience the world in.
And this deep dive.
It's just the beginning.
So keep practicing, keep exploring.
And most importantly, keep thinking in English.
Until next time.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I will show you how to think in English in today's lesson. If you've been studying English for a while but still find yourself translating from your native language into English in your head, this video is definitely for you. Learning to think in English can make you more confident, help you speak more fluently, and increase your understanding of everyday English. We'll talk about simple, practical tips you can use right away to switch your thinking from your native language to English. Let's get started. First of all, you might wonder, why do I need to think in English? Can't I learn vocabulary and grammar and practice speaking? The answer is yes, you can learn those things, but if you keep translating in your head, you'll slow down your fluency. You might also get stuck on words that don't have an exact translation in English. Thinking in English helps you. 1. Improve fluency. When your thoughts are already in English, the words come out faster and more naturally when you speak. 2. Boost confidence. You'll be more confident in conversations if you don't have to pause to translate. 3. Develop an English brain. Over time, using English for your internal thoughts strengthens your overall comprehension and language intuition. Think of it like switching your phone's language setting to English. You gradually adapt and start recognizing patterns without having to go back to your original language. Let's dive into the strategies that can help you get there. One of the simplest ways to start thinking in English is to label the objects around you. Let me show you an example. Here, I have a cup, a pen, and a notebook. Instead of saying these words in your native language, I want you to practice calling them by their English names. Cup, pen, notebook. As you walk around your room, apartment, or house, try to mentally name everything in English. Door, window, television, chair, table, and so on. Do this even briefly when you look at them. Over time, this will become automatic, and you won't need to think of the object in your native language first. You'll just think cup or door. This is a tiny step, but a powerful one. The second tip is to create an inner monologue in English. That means talking to yourself in your head in English as much as possible. For example, when you wake up in the morning, think, I need to get out of bed. Then I'll make breakfast, maybe some scrambled eggs and toast. Then I'll check my emails before I start work. Instead of using your native language to plan out your day, do it in English. You can do this while you're cooking, doing chores, or commuting. If you're washing dishes, say to yourself, I'm washing the dishes. The water is hot. I'm using dish soap. I need to clean the plates and the cups. It may feel funny at first, but over time, you'll get used to it and it'll start to flow more naturally. An extra tip: if you get stuck on a word you don't know, just describe it. For example, if you don't know how to say faucet, you could think, I'm turning on the thing that controls the water in the sink. This helps you train your brain to stay in English even if your vocabulary isn't perfect yet. The more input you have in English reading books, articles, social media posts, or listening to podcasts, music, and videos, the easier it will be to think in English. Make sure you choose topics you enjoy or find interesting. If you like sports, read an English sports blog. If you like cooking, watch cooking shows in English. When your brain is constantly exposed to English input, you'll start picking up new vocabulary and phrases that will naturally come to mind. The key is consistency. Try to dedicate at least 15-30 minutes every day to reading or listening in English. And as you read or listen, try to visualize the words in your head in English. If the idea of thinking in English all day feels overwhelming, start small. Pick a specific time of day, maybe for the first 5 minutes after you wake up, and commit to thinking in English during that time only. After you're comfortable, expand it to 10 minutes, then 15, and so on. For instance, if you brush your teeth at a.m. every day, decide, from 7 o'clock to 7:05, I will only think in English. Over time, you can gradually increase that period until you feel ready to handle longer sessions. This progressive approach helps you build a habit without too much pressure or frustration. A great evening or bedtime routine is to briefly summarize your day in English. Think about what you did, what you saw, how you felt, and describe it to yourself in English. For example, today was busy. I went to the grocery store and bought some fruits and vegetables. After that, I worked on my computer for a few hours. I felt a little stressed, but I took a break and went for a walk. Now, I'm tired, so I'll go to bed soon. If you want, you can speak this out loud or write it in a journal. Speaking or writing forces you to organize your thoughts in English, which is excellent practice for fluency. If you keep a daily English journal, you'll also see your progress over time, and that can be very motivating. If you're at home alone or in a private space, think out loud in English. Actually speak your thoughts instead of keeping them in your mind. This helps you connect the mental process of thinking with the physical process of speaking. Let's say you're deciding what to eat for lunch. You can say, what should I have for lunch? I have some chicken in the fridge. Maybe I can make grilled chicken with rice. That sounds healthy and delicious. This might feel silly, but it's a powerful way to push your brain to stay in English mode and practice your speaking skills simultaneously. When we learn a language, we often study individual words. But when you're trying to think in English, it's more natural to think in phrases or chunks. For example, instead of memorizing just the word morning, learn a common expression like, good morning, in the morning, every morning, I usually. If you focus on phrases like how are you doing or what's up, you'll be able to quickly recall them during real-life conversations or internal thoughts. Let's say you want to talk about your plans. Instead of memorizing plan and weekend separately, memorize an entire phrase, I'm planning to go out this weekend. That way, when you start thinking about your weekend, your brain will jump to that ready-to-use phrase. Remember, thinking in English is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time to develop. You're going to make mistakes. You'll forget words, mix up tenses, or occasionally slip back into your native language. That's completely normal. The important thing is to embrace those mistakes. If you notice you made an error, just correct yourself gently and move on. Don't spend too much time feeling embarrassed or frustrated. The more you practice, the better you'll get. A little patience goes a long way. Now let's see some practical examples of how you can think in English during everyday situations. Situation 1. Morning routine. Your thoughts in English. I'm so sleepy. Let me check the time. Oh, it's 7:30 a.m. I need to wake up now. Today, I have a meeting at 10 o'clock a.m., so I should make breakfast and then get dressed. Situation 2. Commuting to work or school. Your thoughts in English. I'm on the bus. It's quite crowded. I see a few empty seats at the back. Let me check my phone. I hope I'm not late today. Situation 3. Ordering coffee. Your thoughts in English. Do I want a latte or an Americano? I'm really craving something sweet. Maybe a caramel latte. Let's do that. Situation 4. Grocery shopping. Your thoughts in English. I need tomatoes, lettuce, and onions for the salad. What else do I need? Maybe some milk and eggs for breakfast tomorrow. Teacher smiling. By using English in these everyday scenarios, even if it's just in your mind, you'll speed up your learning. If possible, find an online language exchange partner or friend who speaks English. The goal isn't just formal lessons, it's to have casual chats about everyday life. The more you talk about everyday topics, the more naturally you'll start thinking in English. You can also try recording voice notes or short videos of yourself speaking your thoughts. Review them to see how you can improve your vocabulary and sentence structure. This is a great low-pressure way to reinforce thinking and speaking in English. Let's do a quick recap of the tips we covered today. 1. Label your surroundings. Practice naming objects in English around you. 2. Develop an inner monologue. Think about daily tasks in English. Narrate your activities. 3. Read and listen in English daily. Immerse yourself in English content. 4. Start small and build up. Use short time blocks to train your brain to stay in English. 5. Summarize your day. Reflect on what happened. Write or speak out loud in English. 6. Use thinking aloud in private spaces. Verbalize your thoughts when you're alone. 7. Focus on phrases, not just words. Memorize chunks of language for quick retrieval. 8. Embrace mistakes and be patient. Learning takes time, so be kind to yourself. 9. Practical scenarios. Try thinking in English in real-life situations like commuting or shopping. 10. Engage in low-pressure speaking practice. Chat with friends or record yourself in English. Remember, small steps every day lead to big progress over time. The more often you practice thinking in English, the more comfortable and natural it will become. Thank you so much for joining me in today's lesson on how to think in English. I hope these tips and examples help you take your English skills to the next level. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, share it with your friends who are also learning English, and don't forget to subscribe for more lessons. In the comments below, let me know which tip you're going to try first, or if you have any other strategies for thinking in English that have worked for you. Keep practicing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You know how we love to take those deep dives into all sorts of interesting topics to improve your English.
That's right.
Well, this time, we're all about boosting your vocabulary.
Yeah, we found this awesome guide all about advanced speaking tips in English.
And we're zeroing in on adjectives today.
Powerful adjectives, ones you can really use to make an impression.
Exactly. So get ready to go from good to astounding and pretty to exquisite, because we're going to break down not just what these words mean, but when and how to use them like a pro.
It's going to be good.
Okay, let's jump right in. The first word that caught my eye in this guide is astounding. And they define it as causing amazement, bewildering. But how is that different from just saying something is surprising?
Well, think about it this way. Astounding has this sense of being completely blown away.
Oh, I see.
Like you're just speechless.
Right, like if you saw the Northern Lights for the first time, or, like a massive waterfall.
Exactly. Astounding has this root that goes back to the idea of being stunned or dazed.
Wow, that's a much stronger image than just surprised.
Absolutely. It really amps up the level of amazement.
Okay, I'm sold. Astounding it is. So what about exquisite? The guide says it means extremely beautiful and delicate.
This one is all about refinement.
Refinement?
Yeah. Think about something that's not just beautiful, but like carefully crafted.
Oh, okay.
With incredible attention to detail.
So like a handmade, intricate piece of jewelry.
Exactly. Or a perfectly prepared gourmet meal, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. Those are both definitely exquisite. Okay, next up we have pivotal. The guide says it means of crucial importance in relation to the development or success of something else.
I always think of a hinge when I hear pivotal.
A hinge.
Yeah, like on a door. It's small, but the whole door swings on it, right?
That's true.
Same with a pivotal moment.
Okay, so it's like that one decision or event that changes everything.
Exactly, like a historical turning point.
Got it. Okay, how about ingenious?
And that's a fun word.
I know, right? It makes me think of some kind of brilliant inventor.
Well, yeah, it implies cleverness, resourcefulness, originality.
So it's not just being smart, it's like coming up with creative solutions to problems.
Exactly. Like, remember when we talked about that guy who built a working airplane out of bamboo?
Oh, yeah. That was amazing.
Totally ingenious, right?
Okay, let's see. What do we have next? Ooh, profound.
This one's deep.
Yeah, deeper than just deep, I think.
Definitely. It's about having a deep and lasting effect on you.
So like reading a book that totally changes your perspective on life.
Exactly. Or having a conversation that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew.
I have had a few of those. All right, diligent. I feel like I don't hear this word enough these days.
It's a good one, though. It really emphasizes steady, earnest, and energetic effort.
So more than just working hard, it's about being dedicated and thorough.
Definitely.
Indeed.
You know, putting in the time and effort to get things done right.
I can appreciate that. Okay, last but not least, we have resourceful.
I think this one is super important, especially today.
I agree. What do you think makes someone truly resourceful?
Well, they're able to think on their feet and find clever ways to solve problems, even when things get tough.
And probably not afraid to try something new.
Absolutely. They can adapt to different situations and use whatever they have at their disposal to make things work.
Like that one friend we all have who can fix anything with duct tape and a paperclip.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Well, we covered a lot of ground today, didn't we? So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from this deep dive into powerful adjectives?
I think the biggest thing is to just be more aware of the words you're using.
I like that.
Because the right words can have such a powerful impact.
They really can.
Not just on how you express yourself.
But also how people perceive you.
Exactly.
So for all our listeners out there, I have a challenge for you.
Ooh, I love a challenge.
Pick just one of these awesome adjectives we talked about today and try using it in a conversation sometime this week.
Yes.
And just notice how it feels, how it changes things.
I bet you'll be surprised.
Absolutely. And hey, maybe you'll even inspire someone else to up their vocabulary game.
Spreading the word power.
That's what we're all about. All right, everyone. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep those conversations flowing.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.
Ever get the feeling that like everyday language is hiding secret stories? Well, buckle up, because in this deep dive, we're going to uncover the surprising origins of some of your favorite English idioms.
Okay.
You know, those sayings that color our conversations, like spill the beans.
What's fascinating is that these phrases aren't just quirks of language, you know?
Right.
They're like little time capsules offering glimpses into history and culture.
Ooh, I like that. Time capsules.
And even human psychology.
All right, so let's crack open a few of these time capsules.
Yeah.
And what better place to start than with a phrase you might use at, say, a painfully awkward networking event?
Oh, I've been there.
What's the real story behind breaking the ice?
So imagine you're a ship captain, like centuries ago.
Okay.
It's the dead of winter, your route is frozen solid, and the only way forward is to literally, smash through the ice.
Oh, wow.
That act of carving a path through a frozen barrier, that's the original breaking the ice.
Wow, so every time I try to strike up a conversation with a stranger, I'm basically a fearless icebreaker captain battling the Arctic?
You got it.
I like that. That's a much cooler way to think about small talk. But how did we go from ships to social situations?
Well, it's a fascinating example of how physical actions can morph into metaphors for social dynamics.
Okay.
That need to create a pathway, overcome an obstacle. It applies whether you're sailing a ship or navigating a room full of strangers.
Okay, this next one always makes me cringe a bit.
Uh-oh.
And I have a feeling I know why. bite the bullet.
Okay.
Tell me, is it as gruesome as it sounds?
You have no idea.
Well,
Before the days of anesthesia, battlefield surgeons had to get creative with pain management.
yeah, I bet.
And often that meant giving their patients something to bite down on during these agonizing procedures.
Oh, gosh.
A piece of leather, a stick, or, yes, even a bullet.
Ouch. Talk about a tough situation. It makes you realize just how much we take modern medicine for granted. But how did something so brutal become a saying for facing difficult situations?
I think it speaks to that incredible human capacity for resilience.
Yeah.
For pushing through pain and adversity. Whether you were a soldier enduring a battlefield surgery or you're facing a tough conversation today, it's about summoning that inner strength, that grit to get through something unpleasant.
Makes you think about the expression grin and bear it in a whole new light, right?
Totally.
Speaking of secrets, what about letting the cat out of the bag?
Okay.
Is this one as straightforward as it seems, or is there a sneaky feline backstory?
Oh, there's definitely a cat.
Okay.
And there's some trickery involved. Imagine yourself in a bustling medieval marketplace.
I'm there.
You're bartering for a piglet, a valuable livestock animal.
Right.
But some unscrupulous sellers would try to pull a fast one, swapping the pig for a less valuable cat hidden in a bag.
Oh. So letting the cat out of the bag exposed their deception. Poor kitty. But it does paint a rather vivid picture. And now it means accidentally revealing a secret, like spoiling a surprise party.
Precisely.
Right.
It highlights our fascination with secrets, the power they hold, and the consequences when they're unexpectedly revealed.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder what other secrets are lurking in plain sight, just waiting to be uncovered.
So true.
Okay, this next one hits close to home, especially after a recent trip to the electronics store. Cost an arm and a leg.
Oof, I feel that.
Please tell me this wasn't literal.
Okay.
Did people actually barter with body parts?
Not quite, thankfully. But it does tie back to the idea of value and status.
Okay.
So back in the day, having your portrait painted was a major status symbol.
It was.
Oh yeah, but some artists charged a premium if they had to include the subject's limbs. Apparently showcasing those fancy sleeves was a costly affair.
Wait, really? So vanity was literally priced by the body part back then. I guess some things never change. But why did limbs become the go-to for expressing outrageous expense?
It's a powerful image, isn't it?
Yeah.
It speaks to that human tendency to place a high value on certain things, even if that value seems irrational. And reminds us that what we consider expensive is often relative.
Yeah.
It's shaped by cultural norms and personal desires.
It certainly makes you rethink those impulse purchases, doesn't it?
For sure.
Okay, time for a weather report. What about raining cats and dogs?
All right.
Did people ever actually see animals falling from the sky?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
Though the mental image is certainly memorable. This saying takes us back to 17th century England. So picture cobblestone streets, torrential downpours, and inadequate drainage systems.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, during these heavy rains, the streets would overflow, sometimes washing animals out of their shelters or off rooftops.
So it just looked like it was raining animals?
Exactly.
It's kind of gross, but I can see how that image would stick with people.
It's a testament to the power of language to capture these visceral experiences, these almost surreal moments in time.
Yeah.
And it shows how even something as chaotic as a downpour can be immortalized in a simple phrase.
All right, let's switch gears for a moment with one that sounds pretty straightforward. The ball is in your court.
Okay.
Did this one actually come from the tennis court?
It did.
Really?
And it's one of the more literal idioms we use. Just like in a tennis match, the responsibility to act shifts depending on where the ball lands.
So when we say the ball is in your court, we're essentially acknowledging a shift in responsibility, like I've done my part.
Exactly.
Now it's up to you to make a decision or take action. It's all about clear communication and knowing when it's your turn to step up.
Exactly. And just like in tennis, there's a certain strategy involved, knowing when to serve, when to return, and when to wait patiently for the next move.
Okay, I'm dying to know about spill the beans. This one has always made me picture someone literally spilling a bowl of beans to reveal a secret. Was that actually a thing?
Believe it or not, yes.
No way.
The ancient Greeks used beans for voting, white beans for yes, black beans for no. So if someone accidentally or intentionally knocked over the voting container.
Well, there goes the element of surprise. The beans were spilled and everyone knew the outcome. Talk about a voting security breach. But how did this very specific bean-related incident become a general term for revealing secrets?
Well, I think it speaks to that universal human struggle with keeping secrets and managing sensitive information, and it reminds us that even the most carefully guarded information can be unexpectedly revealed, sometimes with dramatic consequences.
You know, it's amazing how these seemingly simple phrases are like packed with so much history.
Right.
It's like each idiom is a little window into a different time and place.
It really is, and the more you explore these origins, the more you realize just how interconnected language and culture truly are.
Okay, I'm ready for more. What about steal someone's thunder? That one always makes me think of dramatic pronouncements and maybe a little bit of mischief.
Well, it is a bit theatrical. This idiom takes us back to the 18th century London theater scene.
Oh, wow.
A playwright named John Dennis invented a new sound effect for his plays. A thunder machine, if you will.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, his play was a flop.
Oh, no. That's rough. Did someone literally steal his thunder machine?
Not quite, but something even worse. A rival playwright copied Dennis's thunder machine for his own production, which became a smashing success.
Oh, no.
Dennis was furious, accusing his competitor of stealing his thunder, both figuratively and literally.
So it started as a very specific complaint about a stolen sound effect,
Yeah.
but evolved into a broader idea of taking credit for someone else's idea or achievement.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that even in the world of creativity and innovation, there are ethical considerations.
Right.
Giving credit where credit is due is important, whether it's a groundbreaking invention or a simple idea shared among colleagues.
Makes you think twice about borrowing ideas, doesn't it? Okay, this next one brings to mind a boxing match. Throw in the towel. It seems pretty self-explanatory, but I bet there's more to it.
You're right. This one is connected to a very specific physical action.
Okay.
Imagine a boxing match where one fighter is clearly outmatched their cornerman. Seeing the potential for serious injury, throws a towel into the ring to signal defeat and stop the fight.
So it's that moment of surrender, of admitting defeat, when it's clear that continuing the fight is futile or even dangerous. It's about knowing when to step back and reassess.
Precisely. And while it might seem like a sign of weakness, throwing in the towel can actually be an act of strength and wisdom. It takes courage to recognize when a battle is lost and to choose a different path.
That's a really interesting perspective. Sometimes knowing when to quit is just as important as knowing when to persevere. Speaking of knowing when to call it quits, what about hit the sack? Does this one really have to do with sacks?
It does. Though not the kind you might imagine before the days of comfy mattresses and feather pillows, beds were much simpler affairs.
Oh.
People often slept on mattresses stuffed with straw or hay.
So hitting the sack was quite literal. You were plopping down onto a bag of hay for the night. That makes so much sense. And it's kind of funny to think that a phrase that originated from such humble beginnings is still so widely used today.
It shows how language evolves alongside technology and culture. We may not sleep on hay anymore, but the need for rest for that moment of surrender at the end of the day is universal.
Right.
And hit the sack perfectly captures that feeling.
I'm loving how these idioms give us these little glimpses into the past. It's like time traveling through language. Okay, I have a feeling this next one is going to be a fun one. Under the weather. Did people used to literally hide from storms under the clouds?
Not quite. This one comes from the world of sailing. When sailors got seasick, they would often go below deck to escape the rough seas and the fresh air.
Wow.
So they were literally under the weather,
Yeah.
seeking refuge from the elements.
Wow, that's so clever. It never occurred to me that weather, in this context, referred to the actual weather conditions at sea. And now it's a common way to say you're feeling a bit ill or just not your best.
It's a great example of how a phrase born from a specific context can become a metaphor for a broader human experience.
Right.
We may not be battling storms at sea, but we all have times when we feel a bit off or under the weather in a more general sense.
All right. This last one for this part makes me think of those late night study sessions fueled by coffee and determination. Burn the midnight oil. Did people actually burn oil to stay up late?
They did. Before the advent of electricity, oil lamps were the primary source of light after sunset. So if you were working or studying late into the night, you were literally burning oil to illuminate your workspace.
That's fascinating. It's amazing how a phrase that originated from such a practical necessity has become a metaphor for dedication and hard work. It makes you appreciate how much technology has changed our lives.
It does.
Yeah.
But it also highlights that certain human experiences transcend time and technology, that drive to accomplish something, to push through challenges. Whether you're burning the midnight oil by lamplight or laptop screen, it's a testament to human ambition and resilience.
It's incredible how these idioms we use every day are like these secret messages from the past.
That's all right.
Who knew that like such simple phrases could unlock so much history and culture?
It's a testament to the power of language, you know?
Yeah.
These sayings may have originated centuries ago, but they still resonate with us today because they tap into these universal human experiences. The need to connect, to overcome challenges, to, make sense of the world around us.
It's like each idiom is a little puzzle piece. And once you understand where it came from, it fits perfectly into this larger picture of human history and the evolution of language.
That's a great way to put it. And what's so fascinating is that this puzzle is constantly expanding.
Right.
New idioms are being created all the time, reflecting the changing world we live in. Who knows what sayings will be puzzling future generations?
That's a really interesting thought. It makes you wonder what our everyday phrases will reveal about us to people centuries from now. But for now, I feel like we've only scratched the surface of the idioms we use.
Yeah.
There are so many more out there, each with its own unique story waiting to be uncovered.
There are indeed, and that's the beauty of it. You can keep exploring, keep digging deeper into the language you use every day. You might be surprised by what you find.
So to all you listeners out there, we challenge you to start paying closer attention to the idioms you use. Don't just take them at face value.
Yeah.
Do a little research, ask questions, and see what hidden treasures you can unearth.
And remember, language is a living thing. It's constantly evolving, adapting to new technologies and cultural shifts. So keep your ears open for new sayings, new ways of expressing ourselves.
Right.
Who knows, you might even coin the next spill the beans or bite the bullet.
That's a great point. Well, we've had a fantastic time exploring the origins of these quirky and fascinating idioms. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive as much as we have, and that you've come away with a newfound appreciation for the power and depth of everyday language. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing and those tongues twisting.
Have you ever stopped and thought, what it'd be like if you could just walk up to a tree and have a conversation with it? Really, what kind of stories do you think they'd tell us?
Oh, wow. That's really something to think about, isn't it? Trees, some of them have been around for hundreds of years. They've seen so much.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so cool about this English lesson we're diving into. It's only 20 minutes long, but it really gets you thinking about talking trees. It uses all this vocabulary and tells stories, and even has you do a little role playing.
And what's really neat is how it uses that imagination thing to help you learn the language. Maybe if we start picturing trees talking, we might start understanding what they're already trying to tell us,
It's kind of like how some cultures already see trees, right? I was reading about the ancient Celts and their tree gods, or the Japanese and how they do forest bathing. It's all about connecting with nature on a deep level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we're tapping into something we all have inside us, that desire to understand the natural world around us.
So, okay, this lesson has a story in it called A Conversation with an Oak Tree. And the author uses some really awesome words to describe this tree, majestic oak, centuries old, roots stretching deep. You can practically see this tree.
It's true. Those words really make a difference. They're not just describing the tree. They're making you feel something about it, right?
Yeah.
You get a sense of how wise and how old this oak tree is.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's they want us to see this tree as something more than just a tree, maybe a wise old being or something.
Exactly. And that idea really comes through in the story itself. So the oak tree starts sharing memories, how it took care of a family of birds and provided shade to tired travelers and watched kids playing in its branches. It's this beautiful picture of how the tree is connected to everything around it.
It really gets you thinking about all the things a tree must see in its lifetime.
Yeah.
They're just always there, watching everything go by.
It reminds us that trees aren't just background scenery. They're a really important part of the whole ecosystem.
And the oak tree in the story, it actually has a message for the person who's listening. It talks about how important it is to be gentle and caring and to live in harmony with nature.
It's a powerful message, especially these days when protecting the environment is so crucial. It's if we try to see things from the tree's point of view, maybe we'll start to get how important that balance is.
Totally. So this lesson also goes into vocabulary, and there are some really cool words in there, like canopy, whisper, murmur, thrive. They all paint this amazing picture of the forest.
Those words are carefully chosen, take canopy, for instance. It's not just about the top of the forest, it's also about the feeling of shelter it provides, how everything is connected up there.
It's like they're trying to make us feel like we're right there in the forest with the tree,
Exactly. And when you learn those words, you start to appreciate nature in a whole new way.
It's funny how learning new words can do that.
Yeah. Language has a lot of power, doesn't it? It shapes how we see the world.
So this lesson, it goes on to show these sample dialogues where people are actually talking to trees and asking them for advice.
That's a really clever way to get people practicing the language and thinking creatively. Like when you imagine talking to a tree, you have to think outside the box, you know?
It's like we forget that nature can teach us so much if we just take the time to listen.
And speaking of listening, the lesson also has this role-playing activity where you get to imagine your own conversation with a tree.
Oh, that's a great idea. So it's like taking everything you've learned and putting it into action.
And it makes you think, what would I even ask a tree? What kind of wisdom am I looking for?
Right. Like what could a tree teach us about ourselves and how we live our lives?
Exactly. It makes you really think about things from a different perspective.
It's almost like, that saying, if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around, does it make a sound? But like, what if they've been talking this whole time and we're just not hearing them?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. You ever think about how long some trees have been around? I mean, they've been standing there watching everything happen.
Oh, totally. I was just reading about this bristlecone pine. They call it Methuselah. And get this, it's almost 5,000 years old. That's like way before the pyramids were even built.
That's insane. Imagine if it could talk, right? Think of all the stories it would have. It'd be like a walking history book.
Well, speaking of history, this lesson actually talks about how trees can give us this unique perspective on time. Especially when you think about how humans have changed the environment,
Yeah, that's right. They've been through so much, like ice ages and forest fires and then all the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
But they always seem to bounce back.
It makes you think, even if trees can't talk to us with words, they're definitely sending us messages about the planet.
Totally. They're like these silent watchmen, always keeping an eye on things.
Oh, and it's cool. I was reading about this network of fungi that connects all the trees underground. It's almost like they have their own internet.
Oh, yeah, mycorrhiza, right. Isn't that wild? The trees can actually use that network to share resources and warn each other about danger.
Wow, so it really is like an internet for trees.
Kinda, yeah. It just shows you how connected everything is in nature. We might think trees are all separate, but they're all linked together underground.
So like it's not just a bunch of individual trees, it's like a whole community, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the more we learn about those connections, the more we understand how amazing nature really is.
This lesson does a really good job of explaining all of that. And it makes you wonder, what if we could actually understand what the trees are saying?
Well, even though we can't have a conversation with them, we can still pay attention to how they're communicating.
Like, how their leaves change color or the rings inside their trunks.
Right. They're always sending us signals. We just have to learn how to read them.
And the lesson really stresses how important it is to protect forests. Not just for the trees, but for everything that lives there and for the whole planet.
It's true. I mean, think about it. They give us clean air and they help control the climate. And don't forget all the animals that live in forests.
Right. When you take care of trees, you're taking care of everything.
I think this lesson does a really great job of explaining all of that in a way that's interesting and fun. It's not like a lecture or anything.
It definitely makes you think. And it reminds me of how some cultures have always had this deep respect for trees and nature.
Yeah, a lot of cultures see trees as sacred or spiritual.
Like, how some Native American tribes would plant a tree when a baby was born? They saw it as a way of connecting that child to nature.
It's a beautiful tradition. It shows that our connection with nature goes beyond just the physical stuff. It's about something deeper.
Makes you wonder what they'd tell us if we could actually sit down and have a chat with them.
I think it would be amazing. Imagine all they could teach us about resilience, about adapting to change, about how we're all connected.
I've always been kind of fascinated by those giant trees like the redwoods and sequoias. They live for hundreds, even thousands of years. They must have seen so much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They've seen civilizations come and go. They've survived all kinds of natural disasters. They've seen the world change in ways we can't even imagine.
It really makes you think about your own place in the world, doesn't it?
It does. We're just a small part of something much bigger.
So going back to this English lesson we've been talking about, what do you think is the biggest thing listeners should take away from it?
I think the biggest thing is that it gets you to see trees differently. Not just as these big plants, but as living beings with their own stories to tell.
It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
That's a good one. It's never too late to start appreciating trees and learning from them.
Even if we can't actually talk to trees, we can still learn how to take better care of them.
Exactly. And we can appreciate how important they are for the whole planet.
So to wrap things up, I think this deep dive has really shown us that there's so much more to trees than meets the eye.
Yeah, it's like opening up a whole new world.
And maybe if we listen closely enough, we'll start to hear what the trees have been trying to tell us all along.
Who knows? Maybe they've got all the answers.
Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.